Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss something about MySQL basics. Actually, in this video, we will discuss about SQL command, that is DDL command. And here we will discuss one command, that is create. Actually, create command is basically used for multi-purpose. Here, create command can be utilized to create database, table, views, and related things. But in this video, we will discuss only about 2 points. First one is that is called database, and the second one that is table. So we are going to start with this one. Here you can see that the create command is basically a DDL command, which is used to create database and table here. Using database, we can create a database in the MySQL with the help of this syntax. First one, here you have to write create database and database name. One thing, I have written this particular command in the uppercase letter, but as you all know that MySQL is not a case sensitive, so you can write capital letter, small letter, and mix together to form the syntax or from the statement in the MySQL. But whenever you are writing about the table field, about database name, it is case sensitive. So whenever you are writing the name in the database, you must have to verify the name case, that is uppercase and lowercase. Here is the example, that is create database school. Here I have created this particular school database using the create command. We are going to know it by using the MySQL. Here I'm going to open this one with the help of my start menu, MySQL. I have already installed it and already given you a video in my YouTube channel. In the previous part, you can also identify these steps to install MySQL in the Windows environment. Here I'm going to work with MySQL 8.1 command line client, and here I have to write my password. Now I am going to log in inside it, and here you can see there is a MySQL prompt is available. Using this particular window, you can manage all the commands related to MySQL. Like I wanted to display the databases available in this particular MySQL right now. You just need to write sort databases. So databases command is basically used to list out all the databases available in the current client system or the server. Here I am going to create a new table for my database, that is called create space database name. I'm just going to give the name, that is called stud master. I'm just going to record keeping some data related to the students. So I just created a database that is a student. I think it should be a students. Okay. And in this part, we will create a table inside it. But before working with this students database, you have to go inside it. So whenever you needed to go inside this database, you just need to use a command that is called use command. Here you have to write use space database name. You must have to take care about the name of the database, because name of the database is case sensitive here. All the commands are not a case sensitive, but whatever the name of your database, table name, field name, all these are case sensitive. I'm just going to change it. Here it shows database change. That means I actually going inside the students database. Here I wanted to list out all the tables available in the MySQL. So we can go through the command that is called sort tables. It will list out all the tables, but here you can see that there is an empty set. That means there is no any table inside it. So if I wanted to create it, I just have to follow some syntax rule here. I'm just using a syntax rule, create table. Whenever you are going to create a table for your database, you must have to keep the basic syntax of creating table. Here the syntax is create table, then after table name. After that, you have to put a small bracket and identify the field. Field 1, data type, its size if applicable, and you can put key constant. Then after field 2, data type, size if applicable, then key constant. So whatever the requirement, according to your requirement, you can identify the fields here. And now at the end, you just need to use like this one. I have created multiple fields here. Field n, data type. Here size is not a mandatory part because number of data type do not need size of the data type. Here at the end, you just not have to use comma at the end of the field declaration. As you can see here, I have used semicolon, comma. Here I use comma that identify there is a some other fields recorded inside this particular statement. That's why I have given this comma statement. But at the end of the table, you just not need to go for giving any comma here. You just directly close the bracket and give the semicolon. This is the basic syntax of creating table. Now we are going to follow it and create our own table. As for example, I just wanted to create a table. Here is an example. I just wanted to create a table, create table, T-A-B-L-E, table, and give the name stud master. Here is a table name stud master that will contain number of field like ADMNO, that is admission number, that should be int, and it is also should be primary key. Here the term primary key is basically the keys or key constant of the database table. We will discuss it after the declaration. Next one is that is called sname. It should be varchar, and it should carry 80 characters. I will discuss it one after other. SDOB, that means student date of birth, that should be DOB, that is date. And the end, I have to close it. I just created three basic field of student master. After the table creation, we can also add or modify a structure of the table. But before going through this one, we should identify there is a term return primary key. What is the primary key means? Actually, whenever you have created a table, you have to identify the table field values. Table field values is a basic part of the table records. So whenever you are going to create a table that have some limitation or validation over it, then we have to apply keys, that is the key constant here. There is a number of key constant, like I can write right here, key constant like primary key. Actually, whenever we apply this key on the specific field of the table, then your entire table record will be unique because primary key identify the unique value. So it cannot be replicate or having any set of redundancy condition. Next one is that is called foreign key. Actually, whenever we use foreign key, then your key fields are going to called as primary key, but at first it is a primary key of the master table. That is basically whenever you are having more than one table and you wanted to make communication, that is you are going to create a relation between two tables, then you have to identify the primary keys, and the foreign key is the primary key of other table. As for example, I have a student master table, that is the master table of the database, and another one is that is called exam master. So whenever we are needed to call student master detail through examination detail table, then we have to combine both of it. At that point, I have to create primary keys over it to make a relationship. So at that time, exam master table is considered as foreign key whenever we apply admission number there. And in the foreign key, um, the field value can be replicated. But in the master table, field value cannot be replicated because it is primary key. Another one is that is called alternate key. Basically, alternate key basically used whenever we are needed to have some uh, other unique values that is stored inside the table, but it is not going to be considered as primary key. That's why it is called alternate key. As for example, admission number is the primary key and the student mobile number is the alternate key. Sometimes mobile number can be considered as primary key, but in the case of two siblings, if two children come from a single family, then it will cannot be considered as primary key because both are having the same number. In this case, this particular field cannot be considered as primary key. That's why it is recorded as alternate key. Next one is that is called duplicate key. As the name suggests, duplicate duplicate key, sorry, duplicate लिख रहा हूं मैं. Duplicate key is basically used whenever we do not have need of uh, unique data, unique record, or unique value to the field. Then we are going to use duplicate key, and it is not going to be discussed. It is not going to be declared inside the table creation. It is automatically understood. There is a number of keys available. We will discuss it one after other at explanation part. Here is some basic keys also, that is called not null. Actually, it is basically used whenever we are needed to have some field which is a required field, like your name, student name. It is a required field of the database table. So whenever you are going to insert a record inside the table, then you must have to specify that your student name should be there, because whenever we apply not null at the declaration of the table field, like I am going to use not null, then it will be going to be a required field. We cannot skip it. Next one is that is called not null. Actually, null key is basically a default key for the database table. Whenever you are going to create a table, your table field have default key constant that is called null, that identify these particular fields are not a required property or required field of the table. So these are the key constant. Another part is that is int, char, var. What actually this one? This is basically considered as data type. What is data type means? Actually, whenever you are going to insert some values to the database table, then that values must be in a specific type. That means it have its own input format, it have its own limit, and its own set of symbols that identify the specific type of data. So in the MySQL, whenever you are going to declare some integer or decimal numbers, you should use int as a data type, float for floating point values, double for long floating point values. These are for the numeric purpose. Whenever you are going to insert some date value, then you have to use date data type. If you are having the time value, then you can use time data type. If you are having values that is alphabets or string or characters, then you should use char and varchar. Actually, there is a misconception about char and varchar. I should declare this one. Actually, char is sometimes static, because whenever you set any variable, any table field as a char, that means it is fixed. As for example, I'm just going to create a field that is called contact number, and I have applied char with 10 characters. Then At the time of execution of this particular table, it will contain 10 set of character for the contact number. It basically store minimum 10 character for the contact number. And whenever you are you do not given any set of data inside the contact number, then it will store this particular packet inside the memory, because it is a static inform. But whenever we are going to add like address as a varchar, then whenever I applied 150 character for the address, then the meaning of this particular thing is that whenever your data is not going up to the 150 character, then the rest of the memory is going to be released. As for example, if I have written address as Gaya, means there is a Gaya. Gaya is just a value here. Gaya. Gaya is just a 4 character. What about the rest 146 character? 146 character will going to be remove or basically going to be escape from the memory, because it is varchar, that is called variable of character or variant of character. So according to the variable, according to the input, it identify the contents for the table fields. That is the point, and that is the basically difference between varchar and char. Next, so these are the basically used data type for the MySQL table creation. Now we are going to understand it through the MySQL command prompt. Now you can see that I have used database student master, and I'm just going to create a data table here. Create table stud master. Here is the field admno, that is integer of type, and primary key also. Next one, that is called sname. Sname should be char, carney, varchar, because name can be varied. That is, sometimes student have very less number of character for the name, and sometimes it is very large. Like if your name is Om, Ankit, these are basically two or four set of characters. But whenever you are having your name like Rudra Pratap Singh, it is a very large characters or large content. So in this particular varchar, it is going to be replaced by the given characters, and rest memory is going to be released. Next one is DOB. DOB means student date of birth. You just need to give date for this one. Next one is contact number. Then contact number should be of 10 character, like mobile number. And the last one, address. Varchar, 150 characters. Actually, you should also give 255, because it is the largest size for the varchar and the limitation of varchar. Now I'm going to conclude it. If I am creating this particular table, there is an error. Primary key. Actually, I have written a wrong sentence, a wrong word here. So I just need to change my command. I just use page, scroll navigation up and navigation down button to recall the previous commands, like this one, primary key, PRIMARY, primary key. Next one is sname, varchar 90. Then SDOB, date, contact number, char 10, and the address, that is varchar 255. Lastly, I have to close it. And use semicolon at the end. Semicolon is basically identify the end of the statement. So whenever you are writing the MySQL code, you must have to take care about this particular symbol. It must be used at the end of the statement. Otherwise, your query will not going to be executed. Now I have created this table and wanted to list out the name of the tables available here. So I just use show table. So table basically identify the list of tables. And then after I wanted to know the structure of the table. That means what actually the design of the table. What are the table fields here, data types here, and key constant applied. Then I have to use DESC or describe STUD master. This will going to list out the definition of this particular table. So today we have discussed these basic points related to MySQL. Thank you.